welcome to my first video on Kat's Bookmark. My name's Catherine. I absolutely love books, specifically fantasy, adventure, fantasy romance. The past month I started reading Fourth Wing, and I thought it would be really fun to recap it, go through plots, characters, events. The third book will be coming out January 21st, 2025. I find these videos really helpful when a new book's coming along. I got the inspiration for this from Kari, I think it's Kari Can Read. I love her videos, go check her out. And she recapped Crescent City, those two books, for the third book that came out this January 2024. Because sometimes there's just so much detail and maybe you don't have the time to reread them. Maybe you don't like rereading books. And then this just sets you up for that new plot, new adventure. Of course, right as I start filming, the gardeners for our building start blowing the leaves, doing lawnmower crap. So I am so sorry that you're gonna hear that in the background, but I've gotta film this video now because it gets dark at 4. So I have my little setup here for you. So we have our book Fourth Wing. It's Christmas time, so we got a little Christmas snow globe and my little reading haggis. Nice little reading buddy there. So with Fourth Wing, this came out in 2022. Let's double check. Oh, 2023. This only came out in 2023. And the hype it got on all book creators on different platforms was nuts. And at the time I was reading a lot of Sarah J. Maas books, all of her collections, and I just felt like this might be a little bit too close to that. I kind of regret reading Throne of Glass so close to reading Sarah J. Maas's other books, her 2 other series. I just felt like the story was a little similar and events were a little similar, and it made it less impactful on me. And so I thought, you know, I'm just gonna give this a little bit. And then the next book came out, Iron Flame, and it actually got kind of negative reviews. And spoiler alert, I read Iron Flame and I loved it. So I'm glad I waited so I could make my own opinions. I loved this book. With fantasy, I just want to have fun. I want there to be excitement. I want to gasp. I want to hee and kick my toes. And I really got that with this. There's dragons, which I actually haven't read a lot of books with dragons, so I had fun with that. Love, friendship, death. Oh my God. It's a fun ride, so let's get into the plot. This video is going to be chapters 1 to 10. You could watch this and kind of go along with me, almost like a book club. I'm mostly going to be talking about the plot and what I thought, my reactions. So let's get into it. There is a little blurb at the beginning, so it does have some trigger warnings, so just so you know. Fourth Wing is a non-stop thrilling adventure fantasy set in the brutal and competitive world of a military college for dragon riders, which includes elements regarding war, battle, hand-to-hand combat, perilous situations, blood, intense violence, brutal injuries, death, poisoning, graphic language, and sexual activities that are shown on the page. That's a lot of stuff to be, yep. Readers who may be sensitive to these elements, please take note and prepare to enter Basgiath War College. Now, I will put how Basgiath is written in this book on the page, on the screen here. I was pronouncing it Basgiath, and there's actually a lot of Gaelic terms in this book, which is the Scottish language. There's a lot of different ways to pronounce it. Of course, there's the correct Gaelic way, and then there's me as a Canadian who has my own accent and will pronounce it differently. But from looking up on Google, it's pronounced Basgiath. So read both books pronouncing it Basgiath. Here we go. And then we get a fun little map. Love a map. And above all the chapters, there's like another blurb. A dragon without its rider is a tragedy. A rider without their dragon is dead. Whew, chills. All right, let's put our little friend here. So the first like 100 words has a crazy amount of information, so this is gonna be long. We're introduced to our main character, whose name is Violet, and it is conscription day at the college. She's been training really hard for the last 6 months because she has to go into the Riders Quadrant, which is all volunteer based. That's how you become a dragon rider. And her mother is making her go into it when her whole life she's been training to be a scribe, which is like the historians. They write about historical events. They help give information between different outposts for the military. They're the librarians, keepers of knowledge. And for riders, they usually train their whole lives to go into this because it's incredibly brutal and you have to be incredibly physically fit. And Violet's not those things. She has her pack, she has on her like normal civilian clothes, and she's running up the steps to go to her mom's office. And her mom is the commanding officer at Basquiat College. So she's a rider. Violet's sister is a rider, and she is currently in a heated conversation with the mom in their office, and Violet is kind of like listening outside the door. Mira, the sister, is like, oh, you're going to send her to her death. She's not trained for this. She doesn't want to do this. What are you doing? And Violet's kind of just like accepted what her mom has told her to do. She's not fighting it. You know, she trained for the last 6 months. She's gonna give it a go. And she's just listening to them argue about how weak she is and how when Violet's mom was pregnant with her, she got a fever and they both got really sick. And so now Violet has a condition where her bones and ligaments aren't as strong as they should be. So she's really prone to injuries, dislocating her joints. Not what you want when you have to be on a dragon and doing combat. Obviously, she should be suited to be a scribe, should be studying for that, was really good at it. That was like her talent. But she's listening to her mom and going to ride the dragons and maybe die. In this fighting, we hear Mira say, like, why are you so eager to bury another child? Pretty harsh, Mira. But they had an older brother named Brennan, and he died 5 years ago in a Tyrish rebellion. So that is a province, and we are set in the kingdom of Navarre, and the Tyrish rebellion ended 5 years ago where their brother died in that battle. And Violet goes in, you know, she's kind of not really standing up for herself, again, just accepting her fate. Mira leaves because she's frustrated, and it's just Violet and her mom gives her a little like caress of the cheek, saying how much she looks like her dad, and then quickly resumes the commanding officer like aura, cold towards her, says she won't be able to have any contact with her while she's in the Riders Quadrant, because that's for everyone. The first year, you're not allowed to speak to the outside world, your family's friends, nothing like that. Warns her that because she's her daughter, she's a Sorngale, that's her last name, that's not going to do her any favors while she's over there. If anything, it's going to make it harder for her. Cool. Mira and Violet are now kind of making their way to go to the Riders Quadrant. They stop off in her room first. Again, they've been living at Basquiat, the mom and Violet, so she has her own room there. Everything's packed up. Violet can only take what she has in her pack over to the Riders Quadrant. You're not allowed to like ship anything or move anything in. So Violet has all her books because she is a book nerd like us. She loves her stories. She has a book of like fables that her dad gave her. So obviously like sentimental as well. Mira's just like, nope, getting rid of all of this, because guess what? You got to walk on the parapet and you can't fall off because your pack's too heavy because you can't hold it, which is how you like first get into the Riders Quadrant. Is you have to walk 200 feet in the air to the other side, and I'll show you the measurements. So it's 18 inches wide. Yes, I did bring this out so we could all visualize it together, because sometimes I have a hard time visualizing. So we have 18 inches, which maybe seem large. Like, yeah, you could put your foot side by side there, you'll be fine. But it's 200 feet in the air. That's gonna make your tummy a little nervous. Plus, it's not like it's pavement. This is kind of, I would say, medieval. Like, they don't have phones, nothing, no modern technology. They have plumbing, I guess. But they have like mage lights, things running on magic. So it's gonna be like stones and not even for your footing. Oh, I could never. So she's emptying her pack. She's giving her better boots and clothing, like rider's black. All of the dragon riders wear black leather and they're like really hardcore. So she changes her shoes out because the shoes that Violet's wearing don't have like grip to them. So she gives her rubber bottomed boots. Also gives her this like corset that's protecting all of her, you know, major organs, and it's made up of Mira's dragon's scales. So no knives can go in there. You gotta protect yourself when you're in the rider's quadrant, because like everyone just tries to kill you. Mira's like, hey, use your smarts. Use your smarts to get you through this, because other riders are gonna try to kill you. Less and less dragons are willing to bond with the humans, but the same amount of volunteers are going into the rider's quadrant and they wanna bond a dragon. So they're gonna take you out because you seem weak. So they have better chances of bonding, which is nuts. And I've seen some like criticism of this part that, you know, they need more people in the military to fight the invaders who are in the kingdom of Poramel, who have griffins. And I love griffins since Narnia. They had some griffins in their army too. But in this book, they're the bad guys. So, you know, put that out of our mind. But just so you know, that's why Navarre needs to keep the military going. They need so many conscriptions, is because Poramel keeps trying to invade. So in the like college, you have the main part, which hosts infantry, scribes, healers. And then there's like a tower that the parapet connects to go over to the rider's own citadel. They have their own area. They're away from everyone, probably because dragons don't tolerate unbonded humans. So Mira's leading her up to the tower to go get her name checked in. Like, things are starting right away. You see some kids, adults, I think they're like 20 something, right? Who have marks on their skins, almost like a tattoo on their arm. And Mira stops and like grabs Violet and is like, whatever you do, stay away from Xaden Ryerson. He's gonna kill you. Like, what? When he finds out you're a Sorengale, you're gonna die. You know, enemy number one. Here we go. She tells her to look for Dane when she gets over the parapet, because they're childhood friends. He just finished his first year, so now he's in his second year. He will help protect Violet. Go find him right away, because things are nuts once you get over there. We also find out that Xaden, enemy number one, his father led the Tyrish Rebellion, which again was the province in Navarre. And that's actually the battle where Brennan died, Violet's older brother, who died 5 years ago. Violet's mom like saw it to the execution of the rebels, and specifically Xaden's dad. So there's just bad blood there. And all the rebellion kids are marked with relics, so they know. It's like, that's what it's called, the relics on their arms. So people know that their parents were a part of the rebellion. Oof. And so all of the rebellion kids have to go into the Riders Quadrant. They don't get to go into like scribes or healers. Usually the Riders Quadrant is voluntary, besides the rebellion kids, which are called the marked ones, and Violet. Just them. And what's crazy is So Xaden is in his 3rd year, and he's like the first generation of the rebellion kids to go through the Riders Quadrant. Obviously, it's the most deadly. Like, a lot of people die because of dragons, because of the challenges, because of other cadets. They kind of thought that a lot of these rebellion kids would die here, so they wouldn't have to kill them, but some of them are actually doing really well. So again, this is like all new for everyone, for the teachers, for the rebellion kids, for non-rebellion kids. So it's very tension. There's lots of tension going on. So we're in the line and we meet Rhiannon, which there's also debate on how that's pronounced. That's how I pronounce it. And Dylan, they're kind of bonding with Violet, you know, hopefully getting rid of some of the nerves. Both of them are ecstatic to be here. Like Dylan, he has a girlfriend back home when he finishes the 3 years at the college. He's really excited for all the benefits of being a rider and to marry his girlfriend. So we love him. He just seems like a sweetheart. And Rhiannon, you know, she's explained as having tight braids in her hair and has cut her hair because of, that's what most people do when they go in the Riders Quadrant, because you're fighting people, so you don't want the liability of like someone grabbing your hair, even though Violet hasn't, and she has a very telltale sign of who she is because of the fever her mom had. Like the end of her hair is always this gray color, which I definitely picture it being like a violet gray. There's a bit of purple in there, and she has it braided as a crown. That's her staple. I loved this part, so I'm definitely putting it in here. But Violet notices that Rhiannon's wearing the same type of shoes that she was previously wearing before Mira switched and told her like, hey, you're gonna fall off if you wear these boots. So even though they have different shoe sizes, Violet exchanges one of her boots with Rhiannon so she has better grip. And it's just, I love that. We love our caring girl. And so there's a lot of challenges in the college, and Parapet's like the first one, and it's kind of supposed to simulate when you're on the back of a dragon. Like, you're not always going to be holding on. Sometimes you might have to jump off, and how physically difficult this is. So again, 200 feet in the air, 18 inches wide, getting ready to walk out across this. You give your name at the beginning, like at the top of the tower, to some 3rd year riders, 3rd and 2nd year, I think. And then once you cross over, if you make it, then you give your name again. And then you're cadet, I believe. I believe that's the terminology they use. And who is one of the riders taking the names of everyone? Xaden Ryerson, which Violet instantly thinks he's so hot. Like, what does she say? It's like hot, white hot, so hot it gets you in trouble and you like it hot. And because Rhiannon's like, are you ready for this, Soren Gale? They're up next to go on the parapet. Xaden hears this and is like, you're a Soren Gale? And then she's like, well, you're, what does she say? They just like acknowledge that they know each other. And he's like, your mom executed my dad. And then Violet's like, well, your dad killed my brother in battle, so I guess we're even. She's not gonna shrink away and be scared of him. And so she's like, I guess we're even. And he's like, hardly. And in her mind, she's like, he could literally pick me up and throw me off this tower right now and no one would bat an eye. No one would question him because he has the right to do that, which is nuts. But the weather starts to change and it's raining now. The wind's picking up. Violet's still kind of looking at Xaden because he's delicious and gorgeous when we hear a scream. We look over to the parapet and we see Dylan starting to lose his footing. Dylan, who wants to get married and loves his girlfriend and just wants to be an awesome rider. And it looks like he's gonna regain his footing, but then he falls. I was so sad when I read that. I was like, no, I was ready for like the 3 of them to be the 3 amigos, love each other. Not so much. Ah! And then it's Violet's turn after just seeing like this guy who she kind of got along with fall off the parapet, Rhiannon's already out there too. And then so Xaden turns to Violet and is like, why would I waste my time killing you when the parapet will do it for me? Oh, like, I know we're supposed to hate him, but she's already kind of attracted to him, so we're kind of already attracted to him. Hey, come here. Come here. Do not Google Xaden Ryerson. Big red flag. Do not do it. I spoiled the ending of the second book, which is supposed to be a huge, like, cliffhanger, twist. I ruined it for myself because there's this little like what other people searched for area, and then it brings up what happened. So please do yourself a favor. Do not Google anything about this book. You've been warned. So Violet's starting to go across the parapet. There's this loser behind her who's like big jock guy, not nice, saying mean things to her and like trying to crap on her confidence, you know, because she already doesn't have a lot, so we don't like him. Violet's like obviously getting nervous, the heart's pounding, and to help herself, she starts reciting some of the history she knows off by heart because, again, she was training to be a scribe. And we get some good world building, some backstory about where we are, so I will tell you about that. So there are two kingdoms in the continent that we are. We have Navarre and, again, Poramel. And they've been at war for centuries, like a few hundred years, I think. Navarre has 6 provinces, including Tyrendor. Let's see how I pronounce that. Oh, Tyrendor. Not Tyrendor. Oh my. Tyrendor, which was the one that rebelled 5 years ago. It got burnt to ashes by the dragons. It is no more. All the rebellion people were killed by dragon fire, and it's just the kids who are now conscripted into the Riders Quadrant. And Poramel has 3. There's an area on the continent called the Barrens, which we don't really learn about because we hear another scream. Violet chances it to look back to see what's happening, and we see Ding Dong Jack Barlow, which is so close to Jack Harlow, which is a musician, but anyways, I was reading it like, I've seen this name before. Oh yeah. Jack Barlow, the like jock ding dong behind us who's really rude. He's turned around. He's not even like doing the parapet anymore. And Violet's like, wait, what's going on? He is waiting for the next person to come along, who's this like skinny, kind of scrawny guy, picks him up and throws him off the parapet. Oh, how awful and how terrifying. Like, you couldn't do anything. There's nothing to grab onto. There's no, like, it's just a ravine and a river. You're dead. Goodbye. Jack Barlow, killer of insanity. No, insanity and a killer. Insane and a killer. There we go. And then he turns around and is like, you're next, Sorengale. Run, Violet. So Violet's kind of trying to move faster. It's slippery on these rocks. The wind is picking up. It is not good. She falls and hits her knee really hard against the stone. And because of her condition, like, that might be a scrape or maybe a bruise, but that's almost like dislocating her knee. But oh my God, she has a killer on her back. She's got to keep going. So she's running across the parapet and she gets into, I kind of imagine them as like medieval castle walls, which the parapet goes into, which then you're in the Riders Quadrant and you're safe. She's running and she like dives the last few feet to safety. So Ding Dong can't like kill her, but he's still on her. And what Violet does is, along with her corset, she had a few daggers shoved in, and whips it out towards Jack at his crotch. Ugh. So he stops right away. because that's a scary area to have a dagger. And he's like so mad. Yeah, I believe she's a second year who's taking the names of the people who have made it across the parapet. It's like, well, you're technically not in the quadrant yet, so she could kill you if she wants. But Violet doesn't want to take a life by getting him in the crotch. She asks, are you going to abide by the codex? And the codex is like their law, their book of, you follow this for the riders. So, and he's like, yes. Such a lie. So she lowers her dagger and he walks off being like, he vows to be the one to kill her. What? Stupid Jack. Hate you. So we almost have like two enemies now who want to kill Violet. We got Jack, who seems way more intent on killing her than Xaden. But Xaden still is supposed to be enemy number one. He wants Violet dead. And she hasn't even been there for 20 minutes. So now, because thank God she made it over parapet, otherwise that'd be a very short book, but she's experiencing adrenaline rush leave her body. Her knee is throbbing. She doesn't want anyone to see her, panicking and injured, looking weak. Rhiannon finds her and is like helping her stay upright when we meet Dane Aptos. He's described as having brown eyes, a new beard, a bit of a scar under that beard, and he just seems harder to Violet from his year at Basquiat. Toned and gorgeous, she notes. No clawing the couch, thank you. Violet, she's been having fantasies about him. She likes him a bit more than a childhood friend, There's something there. And so he pulls her into this like kind of enclosed area so no one can see her panicking. We find out that he is a section leader because there's like tail, wing, flame section, I believe, and then there's 3 sections within there, and there's the wing leader who's like the leader of everyone, and then there's the section leaders, and Dane is a section leader. And he tells Rhiannon to go make sure that her and Violet are in his section so he can take care of them. Good job, Dane. Because her knee is like not doing well, Dane takes her to his room, which is, you're not supposed to do that. It's off limits for first years, to bind her knee in secret so no one sees her. They're being really flirtatious with each other for friends, saying like, oh, anyone sees you up here, I'll just say I was overcome with lust and had to get you undressed or something. And she's like, oh, I'll call out your name a few times. Like, come on, friends don't say that to each other. Little cringy, but we go on. So she's binding her knee in his room, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna get you into the scribe quadrant. Like, what are you doing here? And Violet's like, my mom will pull me right out if she finds out I'm there and put me back in here. I have no choice in this. Bed's been made for me. I'm in it now. Like, let's move on. And she's just reminiscing about spending their childhood together, climbing trees, playing in the river. His dad is Violet's mom's like aide, so they've always been kind of stationed together throughout Navarre. She's just hoping that he hasn't changed too much, that he's still the Dane that she knows. And they're going back to like the courtyard in the Riders Quadrant, which is huge. And I like to imagine it, sometimes I'm bad with scale, I make it smaller, but there's a huge courtyard with gravel, and then there's like, here, let me show you. I hope that's in focus. But so that's the parapet they walked over, first years, dorms of everyone else. They have a gathering hall for like food and crap. Academics, Riders Quadrant. Oh, I think that just means for everything. And then the Dragon Rotunda. And so it's kind of medieval in my head, at least, because they have turrets and parapets, lots of stone, also good for dragons who breathe fire so nothing burns. I picture stuff bigger than maybe you're inclined to. This is their like one military college. It's big. He's walking her back to the courtyard, still being like, I'm gonna get you in the scribe quadrant, like you need to get out of here. And she's getting frustrated with him. She couldn't change her mom's mind. Mira couldn't change her mom's mind. Why does he think that he can? And she's just trying to make the best out of a bad situation. She doesn't want to die, but his like, he does this a lot, you'll see. But he kind of keeps putting her down and saying like she's weak, she's gonna have a really hard time in the sparring ring, the dragons are gonna like smell the weakness on her. So not only is he, you know, not listening to her, he's actively putting her down, which is just really shitty. We learned that last year, 34 cadets didn't get bonded to dragons. So now there's even like extra pressure to bond dragons. There's 34 extra people who are wanting to bond dragons, which means everyone's gonna be out for blood, so they have better odds. And she's just really disappointed in his lack of belief in her. And I am too. You know, Mira's kind of set us up as he's going to take care of you. He's going to be your rock. He's going to be your guy. And he's just putting her down and making her feel even worse. Come on, dumb bum. And he even says like, I can't help you in here, which is exactly the opposite of what Mira said. So Violet finds Rhiannon back in the courtyard. People are finishing crossing the parapet, and the riders who were outside are now coming back into the courtyard, into the like riders' citadel. The riders' quadrant is also called, I believe. I get a little confused with that, but anyways. And obviously, because he was over on the other side, in walks Xaden Ryerson, and Violet like eye contacts him immediately because she loves him. That was, you just feel it, you know that she loves him, which is really concerning when someone wants to kill you or is said to want to kill you. She's like loving on his physique, his beauty. He has a really large scar like in his eyebrow and down his face, dark hair, crazy tall. But again, do not look up his description or what he looks like. Please don't. We're gonna get more descriptions of him in later chapters, so just be along with the ride. And as she's kind of like thinking about him as he's walking with the other wing leaders to start this like presentation of people other in the college, she's like, I wonder what his signet is, because he just seems powerful. And so what a signet is when you bond a dragon, dragons have power and it starts like channeling to you. It brings out your own unique magic in yourself. And so every rider's signet is unique. Violet's mom is like weather control. Mira is wards, like creating wards, I believe. We don't know Dane's yet. So we have Commander Panchek, who is starting off presentation, I guess, being like, good job everyone, you made it. Except not everyone, because like a lot of people died. Violet made it across though, so take that, Dane. Yeah, so 67 people didn't make it across the parapet, which is awful and really sad. Violet and Rhiannon are kind of gossiping about Panchek, saying how he's wanting Violet's mom's job and then to go after the army general's job, whose name is Melgreen. He's like the general of all Navarre's forces, but he has a crazy powerful signet where he can see the outcome of battles. You know, to get his job, you're gonna have to kill him, and that's just not an option with that sort of signet. And then Violet's like helping Rhiannon with how the squads are set up, and it's confusing. So in each section, there are 3 sections in each of the 4 wings. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, okay. So there's 4 wings. In wing 1, there are 3 sections. And then within those 3 sections, there are another 3 sections. Wait, is that right? There are 3 squads in each wing. And then there are 3 sections within that squad. Oh my god, so confusing. It's like a arithmetic problem. So they're announcing who's going into what squad. Rhiannon and Violet get into Dane's, who's in second wing, like second squad or something. But the eye contact between Violet and Xaden is still going on. And he lifts his scarred eyebrow, and Violet like chins him. Like, what do you want? Yeah? Yeah, you're gonna stare me down? You're gonna kill me? Come get me. So then we see Xaden go to the other wing leaders. They have some conversation and goes back, gets announced that Dane's section is switching with a section in 4th Wing. Title. And who is the wing leader of 4th Wing? Xaden Ryerson! Violet's like noting, I am a subordinate in Xaden's chain of command. Woo! So then Xaden, the like powerful one, he's done so well, risen up all in the ranks, even though he has, you know, he's marked from his dad being in the rebellion. So he's starting his speech, hyping up all the cadets. They're all like, yeah, we made it, we're awesome. When Violet notices above the applause, there's another sound, the beating of wings. Ooh, we're meeting the dragons. Dragons of all colors. We have brown, we have orange, we have red. Who else? Green. And then another dragon who's like a gorgeous navy blue lands on those big castle walls I was talking about. And Violet notices, oh, they're not for defense. They're almost like a bird perch for the dragons. And they're huge dragons, so they're like kind of crumbling the stone, and they're really intimidating. And dragons don't really tolerate humans unless they're bonded to them. So like, they're not pets. They are scary creatures, very scary. One of the cadets is like, you know what? I'm not in this. Goes to run. One of the dragons doesn't like that and opens its mouth and like curls its tongue. You start to smell sulfur and just burns down the guy who was running. Oh. And then obviously like 2 other cadets are like, whoa, no thank you. Make the bad decision on running as well. They get burnt down too. Now this huge navy dragon who's landed in front of Violet kind of lowers its face to her. Violet thinking, this is it. Like, it smells my weakness. I'm done. Opens its mouth and just blows steam at her. Scary. And Violet doesn't move at all. To her credit, the guy in front of her pees his pants, but Violet stays, and the dragon almost like nods at her, a little bit of respect, which is crazy. And then one of the reasons why the dragons tolerate working with the humans is because they're like hatching grounds. It's called the Vale. It's kind of behind Basquiat College, and they want to be protected against, you know, the invading Poramel and the Gryphons. So with working with the humans, they're able to create wards that are around Navarre, and it keeps them safe, it keeps the dragons safe. So it's this handoff relationship where they're both... Oh, and it's lunchtime for Mo. The Gryphons are described as like merciless. So now we're on chapter 4. We've made it through the night. It's the next day. Every morning, well, not, I guess only when people die, one of the scribes will come out and read the names of the fallen. And Violet feels like this sense of duty to remember their names, but is also like, what's the point of getting to know these people around me if they're going to die? Like, I can't handle that. And feels really sad when she hears Dylan's name read. Maybe a sense of guilt for surviving when he was so wanting to do this. And they condemn their souls to Malek. I believe that's how you say it, Malek. M-A-L-E-K.
Pronouncenames.com.
Malek. Yeah, Malek. And we're going to hear that a lot throughout this book, of souls being condemned to Malek. They do have a lot of other gods, you know, god of luck, god of war, god of strength, I think. So now it's the cadets' first like opportunity to go to classes. Dane instructs a cadet named Sawyer, and this is his second time going through first year because he did not bond with the dragon. So you have the option of like doing it again, which is crazy. And Sawyer's like, hey, we're gonna meet in the class, get your crap, let's go. Like, I know where to go, blah, blah, blah. So it's kind of nice that they have someone who's done this before. Not nice for Sawyer, good for the rest of them. And he's described as a tall, sandy hair with a freckled face. They're talking about, you know, not only do they have classes, but they also have challenges that are going to be leading into the fall, which is, first they have to do this like crazy obstacle course called the Gauntlet. And then if they survive the Gauntlet, they get presented to the dragons. And if the dragons don't burn them, then it's called threshing, and that's when they go and like find a dragon who wants to hopefully bond them. So crazy stuff going on. Dane is like bird whistling at Violet to get her attention, and Rhiannon solidifies their friendship by being like, hey, I'm gonna go grab your books for you, I'll meet you at class, go chat with your friend. I thought this was going to be a trick the first time I read it. I was like, oh, she's just going to say that and then like get her in trouble. But no, Rhiannon's a good egg. So Violet goes to meet Dean. She follows him into the rotunda, and it's a really beautiful description. So I thought I'd read it out so you can get it into your mind. It's a 3 stories tall building with a domed glass ceiling, polished marble floor, and carved marble statues replicating the various shades of color the dragons come in, being described as if they just came crashing down through the ceiling. So these huge like green, brown, red dragons, beautiful marble floor, stunning glass ceiling, just like beauty, right? Dane's making sure no one messed with her the first night, even though he wants her to go. Violet's like, yeah, I'm fine, but hey, I got this question. Why were we moved yesterday? What was that about? And he's like, everyone in the leadership cadre knows, which that cadre was used in Throne of Glass. That word makes me laugh. It makes me feel like little kids playing, like, this is my cadre. We fight vermin. Ah! It doesn't sound like something grown people should use. And that Xaden moved them into his wing because he hates Violet, wants her dead. This is a way that he can do it. Dane reveals his classified signet to Violet, which is he can read people's minds, not like an insomniac, intrinsic. I'll put the word hopefully here. That's where they can just read anyone's mind. Dane, he actually has to touch your head to be able to read your thoughts. The other one is not allowed because then it'd be chaos and you could read anyone's mind. And he's hoping to get into intelligence with it. And once the dragon like starts channeling through you and you get your powers, you get this really cool dragon tattoo somewhere on your body. So Dane's is like this red dragon on his shoulder muscle, which name is Kath. Just kind of like my name Catherine, but it's a boy dragon, so that's fine. And he like shows his shoulder to Violet and he's all muscly now and she's kind of ogling over him. Love it. And Dane is explaining to us why Basquiat is such a harsh environment and like so cutthroat. It's because they want to break you down to your core. So your loyalty is to your wing and your wing alone. Ride or die. I love this, but like Violet gets spidey senses. The back of her neck hairs stand on attention. She gets like an icy shiver down her spine. And then she looks up to see Xaden staring, like burrowing his eyes into her soul. And then she freezes and she's like, he's gonna end me here right now. This is where I die. Maurice, but she's not there alone. She's with Dane. So he steps out being like, hey, why aren't you going to class? And Xaden calls out in front of this building now that's getting busy because people are getting to their classes. Like it's filling up. He's like, I knew your parents were close, but did you two have to be so effing obvious? And like Violet, you know, he's just, because they're childhood friends, first loves even. It's just super embarrassing for her, and this is putting kind of a target on her back. And Xaden also yells out to Dane, I expected you to do a better job at hiding where your alliances lie, where his affections lie, and starts going down the steps. Violet sprints away because she's like, he's gonna kill me, I gotta go to class, Rhiannon's waiting for me. Woo! End of chapter 4. And then, like I said before, at the beginning of these chapters, there's these little taken from texts, you know, letters between people, little insights, more information into the world. And this is a letter from Violet's mom. We find out her name is Lilith, to the king, saying that General Melgreen, remember the commanding general of Navarre's army, has given the orders to burn the rebels in front of their children. And she's just like, that is way too harsh. Don't do that. Like, I do not agree with General Melgreen's orders. But we know that Lilith was the one who had to fulfill these orders from Melgreen. And that's why all the rebels like really hate Violet, is because, or all the rebels' kids, the marked ones, really hate Violet and are like looking to kill her because they think her mom was the one who did this, but it was Melgreen. Just some info. Now we're at first day of class, kind of like first day at Hogwarts. So first class we have is battle brief. And this is with all the years. It's in this huge, like round tiered classroom, fits everyone. And it's to keep the cadets battle ready. So if there's this, you know, Poramel breaks into Navarre, and they don't have enough dragon riders and infantry already out working in the military, they can rely on the cadets being up with their information and can pretty much just go into battle. Crazy. And there's this funny thing that keeps being mentioned about how first years before they have their bonds with their dragons, they have to write with like a quill and ink, where if you're bonded to a dragon, you're able to use lesser magic to like use a fountain pen. And I just thought it's so silly, but it's funny. And so Violet kind of brings this up of being like, I can't wait if I live to that point. So now we meet our first professor, Professor Devara, who's like highly decorated general. She has short purple hair. And when she notices Violet, again, because she has that like braided crown with the silver showing, she gives her a sympathetic nod, like she's heard that she had to be here. And then we also meet a scribe, Professor Markham, who also knows Violet and is surprised that she's there because, like I said earlier, the scribes also help with getting information from the front lines to other, you know, military personnel. They're also involved in this class, but just Professor Markham. So we learn in this class that Poramel's gryphons and flyers, because they have like people on their backs just like the dragons, have attacked a post on Navarre's borders. And this is why people keep getting conscripted into the Riders Quadrant and into like infantry and all that, is because Poramel keeps attacking Navarre for its resources, and even though they keep wanting peace treaties, like they're not being accepted and they just keep attacking. Gryphons can also channel magic to their riders. It's not as great as the dragons, but it's still there. Part of Navarre's like borders with Poramel is this huge like mountain range, and the Gryphons can't fly at that high of altitude, so that's also been helping Navarre with the wards. And like 37 people died in this attack, so it's not just like they want resources and they're being bad. And this has been going on for 400 years. That's crazy. Violet's spidey senses go off, and she turns around and sees Xaden. And as they're talking about this like attack, they're saying, why would this happen? Like, ask us questions. Let's get this class going. And so Xaden, being the magnificent warrior, student, rider he is, asks a crucial question of what state was the village left in? And so like burnt all the buildings, so they weren't trying to, you know, gain more territory. There's no mines or industry like that, so they weren't trying to get minerals or material to build weapons. So why attack? Like, what was the point of this? And Devara can't answer this question. She says this is part of the mystery of why Poramel won't accept any peace treaties. So it's just kind of like, they're doing it, we're gonna protect ourselves. So now we're part of the like physical activity. This is gym class, except you can die. So we're in the sparring gym where the cadets have to fight each other hand on hand. This is like you're off your dragon, you're fighting griffin riders. How you win is you either knock your opponent out or they yield. Like you got them in a chokehold and they're like not gonna get out of it, so they'll tap and yield. And obviously Violet's really nervous for this. She hasn't had long to train. She has a condition where her ligaments can pop and break, and she is just really nervous. And Violet, though, is starting to get her little friendship / alliance group. We have Rhiannon. Sawyer also says that he'll help train Violet if she helps them with history, because she's got that down packed. Fighting, not so much. So they're gonna help each other out. Hallelujah. And then a few mats over, crappy bum face Jack Barlow is fighting a cadet and snaps his neck. Again, it's a smaller man. He's taking out the wink links or just being a ding dong. He needs to just go to jail, straight to jail. Get him out of here. He's insane. Why do we want him? So that was awful. And Rhiannon's doing her fight. She's gonna win it. Next we have Violet. Oh, and she has to fight a girl with a rebellion mark. So this is already a really crucial fight. She has pink hair, which is really cool, and like a shaved head. It's stated that there's less rules of how the riders have to look compared to like infantry or scribes or healers. They can tweak their uniforms a bit more. So we learned this cadet's name, Imogen. Pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. And she's like, your mother killed my whole family. I hate you. And Violet's like, I'm proud of my mother for protecting Navarre. And so the fight goes on. And Imogen takes her like opportunity to kill Violet, the one everyone wants to kill, and tries to stab her with a dagger in the stomach. But luckily, Mira is Violet's sister, gave her that dragon scale corset and it saves her. The dagger doesn't go in. Imogen is like, what? Why didn't that go in your stomach? The fight continues. They're both landing punches, but Imogen gets Violet's arm behind her back. Violet will not yield. She can't show weakness on her first fight with this marked one. And the last thing Violet hears is a popping sound and the sound of bones breaking. Everything goes black. End of chapter 5. So I was editing this video and then I got a message on my computer saying that the memory is almost used up. So I don't have any more room to like edit the second part of this video because it's supposed to be chapters 1 to 10. So that really sucks. Should I try to like condense what I'm saying? Am I giving a little bit too much information, too many details? Let me know in the comments. It'll help me out while I try to figure out how to either get some more space or just kind of reformat my videos. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. I'm surprised. Yeah, we'll see you on the next one.